idea of spiritual nomad is this amazing, expansive experiment of us understanding our union with God and how we can invite people into the narrative. This narrative of hope, of love, of encouragement, of peace, patience, joy, kindness, gentleness, self-control, that the way of Jesus is the way that brings life and gives life. And I believe truly that if we're going to do this, we're going to have to begin to understand some of the paths and trails that are out here in the desert. And I think there's like 3 different steps of the process, if you will, whenever we're looking at where we're at today. And I think the first is the realization that the current thing is not working, that the questions that you're having about your faith, the questions you're having about the Bible, about community, about everything in the spiritual arena, that those are valid. And as you begin to question those, the current state, the current institute that it seems to be the beacons of truth seem to shut us out. And so the step 1 is figuring out, like, how do I process what's going on in my soul? How do I do that? And I believe step 2, that drives us to a place of nomad. That drives us to a place of being in a nomadic place where we're trying to understand it for ourselves. And we don't need any other voices in that. We just need our own voice. We just need ourselves. We sometimes need to be lost in the desert. And it can be a scary thing, and it can be frustrating. I know for me a couple years ago, whenever I entered into this place of deconstruction, it was like, I really felt like I was out here for a long time. And every once in a while I would come across a mirage, thinking I might have found something that I was looking for, but only to go and see that it was only a delusion the whole time. And I think in that nomadic place, that second spot where we're wandering in the wilderness, I think it's integral because it lets us feel out for ourselves what is the mirage and what is reality. It lets us understand and unpack our own spirituality and understanding of the divine. I believe that after a while, we begin to pick up on another path that was there. And we begin to see that, I don't think we're the only people out here. I think there's some other people that are wandering around in this desert. And that's in that third place, I think, is that we begin to walk on a new path and we find that other people are here. I call these like desert voices. These are desert voices. These are people that we run across on the path, and we immediately begin to talk to each other. You've had this experience. I know you have. You've been sitting in a pub somewhere and you're drinking a pint and you begin to have some dialogue, and somehow or another God gets brought up and you begin to understand that your paths are merging because you're like, you know what? I was there. I've been in a nomadic place, and it begins to become a hopeful thing to know that you are not wandering out here in the desert alone. And that's that third place that I think is so crucial that we become to find, is that there is others out here. There are other people blazing the trail. There are other navigators of this wide, expansive land. And what Spiritual Nomad exists to do is to let you know that it's okay to be questioning where you're at, if you're still in a church, if you're still trying to figure stuff out. It's okay. It's okay to go out into that nomadic place to where you don't really know what you're doing. Maybe you don't even have a compass, and you're just looking around, just sort of kicking dust, trying to figure it out, to let you know that that nomadic place is okay. And to also let you know that there are other people on the path, that there are others that have went before us. Maybe we've just not become aware of them. And there's other people even in our own towns that we didn't know, that we're actually walking the path long before we ever got there. And so what I want to do is, wherever you're at on that process, wherever you're at, and still being in an institution or being in that nomadic place, or beginning to have some conversations with some people that you're in the same spot, like, I want the Spiritual Nomad Network to be able to facilitate all the things that can help us progress forward into this new land. And I believe that a day is coming when, just like John was in the wilderness, God brought him back in to the public place to be able to set the way for the Lord. And I believe that with people like you and people like me, when we're out here in the wilderness, what we're doing is we're preparing ourselves to enter into a new millennia, into a new age, into an absolute new expression of the divine in all things, in all people, in all places. And it's such an exciting place to be because we're on the cusp of something completely new.